Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says the Trump administration will distribute more than $3 billion in aid for farmers as the government shutdown continues. The Agriculture Department has not yet said which types of farmers would receive aid.
We know the Trump administration will offer $3 billion in farm aid despite the shutdown. So how will this money be dispersed, and what kind of pressure are farmers here in the United States facing right now?
Today, that there is a $3 billion aid package that is going to U.S. farmers. It will be distributed through the Farm Service Agency. This was the same agency that distributed aid during the first Trump administration when those farmers needed some financial assistance. Essentially, it's an agency that gives out loan assistance to farmers who are struggling, who are feeling that pinch, particularly now during the harvest season, as China is refusing to really buy any soybeans.
They say politics and farming don't always mix. But in 2025, they do. In ways that could change the face of rural America forever. The story starts in the quiet fields of Nebraska, where the soil runs deep and the people even deeper. And this week, those fields were buzzing, not with the sound of harvest machinery, but with talk of something much bigger. President Donald Trump has announced a massive $300 billion aid plan for America's farmers, one of the largest agricultural support packages in modern U.S. history. And no one felt that shockwave more than the heartland itself, especially in places like Lincoln, Grand Island, and Hastings, where farmers have spent years fighting to survive against collapsing exports, rising costs, and the scars of trade wars that still haven't healed. But here's where it gets complicated. Because while Trump is calling this plan a promise kept, farm leaders, including John Hansen, president of the Nebraska Farmers Union, are asking the hard questions. Who's this really helping? And will it actually save American farming, or just buy more time before the next crisis hits? The announcement came fast, loud, and very Trump. During a rally in Iowa, surrounded by rows of tractors and waving flags, Trump told the crowd, "We're standing up for the greatest people in the world, our farmers. They've been cheated, ignored, and crushed by foreign powers and bad deals. But not anymore. We're giving them $300 billion to rebuild America's agricultural greatness." The audience erupted. But across the Midwest, including Nebraska, reactions were mixed. To understand why, you have to know what farmers here have been through. Over the last decade, the trade wars with China hit them hardest. Soybean exports collapsed. Corn and beef prices fell. Tariffs made it harder to sell abroad. And while government relief programs tried to plug the gap, many family farms still went bankrupt. So when Trump returned to office, promising a new Farmers First strategy, there was cautious optimism and a lot of skepticism. According to Reuters, the $300 billion aid plan will be distributed in phases, targeting crop producers, livestock owners, and agricultural exporters. The goal, Trump says, is to stabilize markets, reduce debt burdens, and bring manufacturing of farm equipment back home. But even before the first checks were written, critics were already warning that the plan might not reach the farmers who need it most. That's where John Hansen, the Nebraska Farmers Union president, stepped in. In an interview that quickly went viral across agricultural networks, Hansen said, "We appreciate any help for farmers. But aid is not a substitute for fair trade, stable markets, or long-term reform. If the structure stays broken, this is just a short-term bandage on a deep wound." He went further, warning that rural America doesn't just need cash, it needs vision. Throwing money into the fields might make headlines, Hansen said, but it doesn't solve the fundamental problem. Farmers aren't earning fair value for what they produce. That statement hit home for thousands of farmers watching online, many of whom have been struggling for years under the weight of corporate consolidation, high fertilizer costs, and fluctuating global prices. Yet Trump's supporters argue this plan is exactly what's needed, a bold shot of cash to revive an industry crippled by global pressures. In a Fox Business interview, Trump defended his plan, saying, "The farmers love me because I deliver. Biden talked. I acted. This $300 billion is just the start. And it's going straight to the heartland." But not everyone is convinced that it's going straight where it's supposed to go. According to CBS News, internal documents suggest that large agribusinesses, the same corporations that already dominate the export market, could receive a substantial portion of the aid. Critics say this mirrors the problem seen during Trump's previous farm bailout programs in 2018 and 2019, when many small and mid-sized farms received only a fraction of the funds distributed to massive producers and exporters. For farmers like Dale Sorensen, who works 2,000 acres outside Kearney, the frustration is familiar. "We hear big numbers every time an election's close," he said. "Billions for farmers, billions for this or that. But by the time it gets to us, it's pennies. Meanwhile, the cost of diesel, seed, and loans keeps climbing." That's the real story beneath the headlines. Because while the government talks in billions, the farmer thinks in seasons. And every season now feels like a gamble. The Nebraska Farmers Union has long argued that short-term subsidies can't replace fair market access and better pricing systems. When the Trump administration announced the aid, Hansen's office released a statement calling for transparency in how the funds are distributed. "We want to see where the money goes, family farms or corporate giants," it read. At the heart of the debate is something bigger than economics. It's about dignity. For many farmers, accepting aid feels like accepting failure. They don't want handouts, they want a fair shot. And yet, with debts rising and markets unstable, most can't afford to say no. In Nebraska's small towns, where co-ops and feed stores double as community centers, the conversations have been emotional. Some say Trump's plan finally acknowledges the pain of rural America. Others say it's a political move timed to win back key Midwest votes ahead of the next election cycle. And let's be honest, politics is written all over it. Trump's announcement came just days after new trade tensions erupted with China. Beijing, responding to U.S. restrictions on its EV exports, hinted it could target American agricultural imports again. The same tactic that devastated U.S. farmers during the last trade war. So, in many ways, this $300 billion promise isn't just about helping farmers. It's about shielding Trump politically from the fallout of another economic battle. During a press briefing, Trump brushed off those criticisms, saying, "This isn't politics. This is patriotism. Nobody has done more for farmers than me. Nobody. We're rebuilding the rural economy from the ground up." But Hansen and other union leaders say patriotism shouldn't mean dependence. What farmers really need, Hansen said, is a fair global market that rewards their work, not another round of government checks that disappear after a year. Still, you can't ignore what this means for rural America right now. In communities that have seen 3 banks close in 5 years, that have watched sons and daughters move to cities, and that have been left behind in every recovery, this aid, whatever its motives, feels like hope. In farm towns from York to North Platte, people gathered in diners to watch the announcement live. Some even cheered. Because for all the criticism, for all the politics, one truth remains. When you're on the edge of losing everything, any help feels like a lifeline. That emotional divide between gratitude and distrust defines the Heartland's response to Trump's plan. A 64-year-old farmer named Mike Jensen said it best. "I don't care who's in the White House. If someone's finally remembering us out here, I'll take it. But I just hope they mean it this time." The symbolism of Trump's visit to Iowa, and his words directed at the Midwest, wasn't lost on anyone. Standing before an American flag as wide as a barn door, he said, "This is your money. You built this country, and now we're giving it back." That line will echo in rural America for months. But the question the Nebraska Farmers Union keeps asking, and that economists are quietly debating, is whether these billions will fix the deeper structural cracks. Farm consolidation continues. Climate impacts worsen. And small producers are still being priced out by global giants that can afford to take losses year after year. Even Trump's plan, as ambitious as it sounds, may only delay what many call an inevitable reckoning for American agriculture, a system that rewards scale, not sustainability. Still, the political impact is undeniable. In states like Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas, Trump's support among farmers remains sky-high. A new poll by Rural Policy Network shows that 68% of Midwestern farmers approve of the new aid package, even if they have doubts about its implementation. That's the paradox. The same people who question the plan still believe in the man behind it. Because for them, Trump speaks their language: direct, defiant, and unapologetically American. When asked whether he thinks Trump's plan could work, Hansen paused before answering. "I think it helps," he said, "but only if we fix the system behind it." Farmers don't want sympathy, they want security, and they want to know that what they grow still matters to this country. That's not politics, that's pain. For generations, Nebraska farmers have carried America's food supply on their backs, through droughts, recessions, and wars. And now, with global trade shifting again and inflation biting hard, they're once more on the front lines of uncertainty. Trump's $300 billion plan may offer short-term relief, but it won't erase decades of neglect. Still, for many, it's the first time in years that Washington seems to be looking their way. As John Hansen said in his closing remarks during a press briefing, "We'll take the help. But what we really need is a future." And maybe that's the line that will define this moment. A plea not for charity, but for change. Because behind the politics, the speeches, and the dollar signs, there's a simple truth. America's farmers are tired of surviving. They're ready to live again. Whether Trump's $300 billion promise becomes their revival, or just another headline, depends on what comes next. For now, the combines still roll, the cattle still graze, and in Nebraska's heartland, where every acre tells a story, hope still lingers, fragile but alive. Trump's boldest gamble yet may have just begun. And as the dust settles over those endless fields, one question hangs in the cool October air. Did Trump just save American farming? Or start the most expensive political experiment in U.S. history? So, what do you think? Is this $300 billion lifeline the turning point rural America has been waiting for, or another quick fix in a system that keeps breaking? One thing's for sure, the heartland is watching. And this time the whole world is watching with it.